What if the thing you're most afraid of dying never actually existed the way you think? Today we'll ask a radical question. When you die, what really ends? The Buddha's answer isn't morbid, it's freeing. One day, everything you're holding on to will disappear. This body, this name, the story you keep telling yourself about who you are, everything will fade. But when death comes, what truly disappears? Picture a successful man living in a beautiful suburban home, driving a new car, working a busy job with a high salary. He has a family. He has friends. He has everything society calls success. Yet late at night, when the room is dark and the only sound is the ticking clock, he lies awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Deep inside, a nameless fear spreads. If I'm gone tomorrow, then what? Where will all of this go? And where will I go? That fear isn't his alone. All of us entrepreneurs, artists, ordinary people carry unease when we think about death. We try to fill the void with work, with status, with pleasure. But no matter how much we achieve, the question still hangs there like a shadow. In the end, what really dies when I die? More than 2,500 years ago, the Buddha looked directly at this question. He taught that everything is impermanent. Nothing endures. This body will grow old. This name will be forgotten. The stories we build will scatter like dust. But the important point is this: death is not the enemy. It is the natural continuation of impermanence, a reminder that everything changes, including us. If you sit quietly for a moment, take a deep breath in and a slow breath out, you can whisper to yourself, this too will pass. When you realize that joy and sorrow, success and failure, life and death all follow the same law of impermanence, a strange ease appears. You don't need to cling so tightly. You don't need to be so afraid. So the real question opens. If death takes everything we cling to, what truly remains? If the self we protect all our lives is only an illusion, then when we die, what is left? This is the first doorway on our journey, the illusion of the self. If the self you have protected your whole life is an illusion, then what actually disappears when you die? This question reaches the root of our fear. In truth, what unsettles us about death isn't just the end of a body. It's the unraveling of me, this name, this story, this image. We believe there's a solid I from birth to our last breath. But the Buddha taught a startling truth. There is no unchanging self. In Buddhist teaching, this is anattā, non-self. What we call I is a temporary combination of 5 aggregates: body, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These 5 are always changing, arising, and passing moment by moment. If you observe closely, you'll see there is nothing permanent in them that could be me. Think about your body. 10 years ago, you looked different. 20 years ago, even more. Cells die and renew constantly. The body is a flowing river, not a fixed object. Now look at feelings. This morning you were happy. This afternoon you felt low. Tonight you might be anxious. Feelings drift like clouds. None of them stay. Thoughts are the same. One thought appears, then vanishes, replaced by another. So where, in all of this, is the unchanging I? We often hear, be true to yourself. But what is this self? Yesterday, you wanted to be an artist. Today you're drawn to entrepreneurship. Yesterday you loved someone. Today the feeling is gone. That self changes day by day, hour by hour. Which self should we be true to? The Buddha offered a beautiful image. The I is like a candle flame. When the candle goes out, we ask, where did the flame go? The truth is, it didn't go anywhere. It became heat, smoke, another expression of energy. The flame never had a fixed essence to lose. It existed only as a temporary meeting of wax, wick, and air. When the conditions end, the flame ends, but nothing is truly lost. Likewise, The self we cling to is a process, not a thing. It's like a river, always flowing, always changing. You can stand on the bank and say, "This is the Mississippi. It has a name and a shape, but the water is never the same." It is never fixed, because we don't see this, we fear death. We think, "I will vanish forever." But if the I was never fixed, what exactly can vanish? What dissolves is the illusion of a permanent self that we imagined into being. There's a simple practice to taste this truth. Sit quietly, close your eyes and ask, "Who am I?" If the answer arises, "I am this body," ask again, "This body changes every day, can it be the real me?" If the answer is, "I am this feeling," ask, "This feeling just arrived and will soon pass, is that me?" Continue with thoughts, memories, roles. Peel back the layers. You will find nothing solid to cling to, and in that discovery, a calm appears. You no longer need to defend a fragile, constructed me. A meditation teacher once said, "We don't suffer because death takes the self. We suffer because we refuse to release the illusion of self." When you see that I is a process, fear begins to melt, because death can't take what was never fixed. Imagine standing before the vast ocean. A wave rises with a particular shape, height, and beauty. But its essence is water. When the wave falls, it doesn't disappear. It returns to the sea. Your sense of self is like that, a temporary expression of life's flow. When the form dissolves, essence remains. This isn't just abstract philosophy. It can change how you live. When you loosen your grip on a rigid me, you become less angry, less selfish. You begin to see yourself in others and others in yourself. Compassion opens, and the fear of death slowly fades. So if death doesn't destroy a fixed self, if it simply removes the illusion, then what does death actually take? The Buddha's next answer points to a truth we rarely face: impermanence. Everything changes, even what we love most. What you love most will change. It will fade. It will be lost. No one wants to hear it, but this truth is present in every moment of life. The Buddha called it anicca, impermanence. Everything, from the body and feelings to the people we love, is never still. All things move. They arise and pass, come and go. Because we don't accept this, we suffer. Imagine a mother named Emily. Her little boy was the joy of her life. Then, in a sudden accident, he was gone. The pain was unbearable. Night after night, Emily cried out, "Why my child? Why did this happen?" Over time, as her heart slowly stopped bleeding, she saw something true. Life is delicate and offers no guarantees. Her son was never hers to keep forever. Every moment they had, his laugh, his hugs, their simple breakfasts, was a priceless gift. The loss taught her to cherish every minute with those who remained. Impermanence teaches a harsh and liberating truth. Nothing lasts. Joy doesn't last, but neither does sorrow. Pain settles. Anger passes. Seeing this, you don't drown in hard times because you know, this too will pass. The Buddha compared life to a flower. When it blooms, we are happy to behold it. But it is beautiful precisely because it will wilt. If a flower bloomed forever, we would stop appreciating it. Its brevity makes this moment precious, like sunrise and sunset. Beautiful because they don't last. We suffer because we try to hold what can't be held. In love, we want love to never change. In family, we want the home to never break. In success, we want success to be permanent. But everything transforms, and resisting that truth only increases pain. A master once asked his students, "What is the one certainty in life?" They answered, "Death." He nodded, then asked, "So why do you live as if you're immortal?" The hall fell silent. That is how most of us live, forgetting impermanence right in front of us. How do we truly face impermanence, not just as an idea? Through daily mindfulness. You don't need a great loss to learn this lesson. You can experience it in small things. When you drink a glass of water, pause. Feel the cool touch on your lips. Feel it flow down your throat, then it's gone. That moment will never return. When you hug someone you love, pause. Feel the warmth of their body and know it exists only now. One day you or they will be gone. This awareness doesn't shrink love. It deepens it, because you know the moment is priceless. There's a practice called contemplating, impermanence. Sit quietly with a flower. See its bright beauty, and also notice the fading already within it. Tomorrow the petals will yellow. Soon they will fall. Seeing this, you cling less and appreciate more. You learn to love without grasping, to live without fear. When we truly see impermanence, a deep shift occurs. We stop blaming life for being unfair. We begin to live as if each day were our last. We stop postponing love, stop waiting for when things calm down to care or to be happy. We see there is no forever, there's only now. That is the gift of impermanence. It wakes us up. Live as if you'll last forever and you waste your life. Live aware of fragility and you live deeply, love more, and treasure what you have. Our greatest pain comes from rejecting change. When you open to impermanence, you see it doesn't only take, it also gives. Every death opens a space for new life. Every loss clears room for something new, like autumn leaves falling so spring can bud. Impermanence is not the enemy. It is the ground of reality, and when you learn to live with it, it becomes your greatest teacher. So what then? Actually dies when we die? Does death take everything, or only our illusions? That is what we explore next. What actually dies? Death doesn't take you. It takes your illusions. This is a truth the Buddha pointed to, though few of us dare to face it. We fear death because we think it will erase me, my name, my body, my story. But if you pause and look deeply, you'll see, death does not touch your true nature. It removes the shell you mistook for yourself. This body will stop. Your name will be forgotten. The stories you tell about career, success, and failure will dissipate like smoke. But the deep ground of life within you has never been lost. Imagine a wave on the sea. It has its shape, its height, its crash against the shore. We look and call it a wave, but its essence is water. When the wave subsides, we think it disappears. In truth, it simply returns to the ocean it belongs to. It isn't lost, it changes form. Human death is like that. When form dissolves and the story of me comes to a close, what we might call life awareness does not vanish. It returns to the vast current from which it came. There's a story in Buddhism. Someone asked the Buddha, when a flame goes out, where does it go, up or down? The Buddha replied, it doesn't go anywhere. When the fuel is gone, the flame ceases to appear as flame. Nothing is lost. It has only transformed. Likewise, when a person dies, no eternal ego disappears, conditions simply change. Understand this, and the fear of death begins to melt. Death cannot take what was never fixed. It only removes the mask we called me. Try a brief practice. Sit still, close your eyes, breathe slowly. Imagine your body dissolving into space, your story into the wind, your name into silence. At first you may feel unsettled. Stay with it, and a vast openness appears. When everything you clung to falls away, what remains is a deep stillness, the ocean of life you already belong to. A mountaineer once shared this. Caught in a storm high on a ridge, he realized he controlled nothing. In the moment he thought he might die, a strange peace arose. With no self left to grasp, only the living breath remained. Death, once an enemy, became a truth that set him free. Death doesn't take you. It takes the layers you mixed up with yourself: status, possessions, image, even the body. It's like leaving a cramped, old house to step into open sky. This opens a new understanding. If death is not an ending, if it is a return, what continues? What extends beyond the body's collapse? The Buddha called this the continuity of consciousness, and karma the stream of mind does not stop at death. If death isn't a full stop, what continues? Humanity has asked this forever, and the Buddha answered with a profound insight. Consciousness doesn't vanish. It continues moment by moment, life to life, like a river that never stops flowing. When the body dissolves and the personal story ends, no permanent soul flies off. Yet there is a flow. The Buddha called it consciousness that continues. It's like one candle lighting another. The old flame doesn't leap over intact, but energy continues. Think of a seed. You plant it in the soil and it decays. From the outside you could say, the seed died, but that very decay opens the way for a sprout. The seed disappears in its old form, yet its living potential continues in a new form. The seed's death is the tree's condition for life. We are like that. When you die, your body returns to earth, air, water, and fire. Your last breath doesn't vanish. It joins the air. Your energy, what you think, say, and do, continues in this world as influence and memory. And within the stream of consciousness, the Buddha called this karma, the seeds we plant in the mind. Every thought, word, and action is a seed. They don't disappear. They ripen and shape the present and the future. When you live in anger, you plant the seeds of suffering. When you live in compassion, you plant the seeds of peace. A simple example, today you smile at someone. You plant a bright seed in them. They feel lighter and maybe they smile at someone else. The chain continues and you can't know how far it will go. That is your continuation, even when your face is no longer here. Many people assume death is a hard stop. Look closely, nothing truly vanishes. A dear friend dies, but the way he loved and lived continues in memory and in the actions of those who remain. A song ends, but the melody keeps echoing in the heart. A star goes dark, yet its light still travels to earth for ages. Your death is like that, not the end, but a transition. From one form to another. From wave back to ocean. From seed to sapling. What does this mean for how we live? Treat each day as a chance to plant seeds. Every thought, word, and action reaches far beyond the moment. You cannot control death, but you can choose your seeds. Try this nightly practice. Before sleep, ask, what seeds did I plant today? Were they seeds of impatience and rivalry? Or seeds of understanding and kindness? Seeing clearly, you'll choose better seeds, and this is how you prepare your continuation. Not at the moment of death, but right now. A monk once said, you don't have to wait for another life to see continuation. Look at your children, your students, your friends. They carry your light. Your smile continues in their smile. Your anger continues in their anger. You are already immortal in these continuations. Accept death as continuation, and fear loosens. Instead of clinging to body and status, you focus on planting. What you sow today will continue long after you're gone. So death isn't a period, it's a comma. A page turn in the endless book of life. And when you see this, a new question arises. If everything continues, how can I live more freely and suffer less? How can I avoid being trapped by clinging to what is fleeting? The Buddha points to the power of letting go. The tighter you hold, the more you suffer. The more you release, the more you are free. It's simple, but few of us dare to live it. We tend to believe happiness comes from gripping tightly, holding onto wealth, status, the people we love and control. But the Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. Everything we try to hold is impermanent, and when it changes, the pain intensifies. Imagine a climber carrying a heavy backpack, food, water, clothes, and many things he doesn't really need. At first he thinks, I need all of this to be safe. The higher he climbs, the more the pack drags him down. One day, trapped on a ledge in a blizzard, he realizes, if he keeps the pack, he won't survive. In a single choice, he lets it go, and because he releases it, he can hold the rope, climb, and live. We're the same. We carry endless burdens, Obsession with success, endless comparisons, old wounds, strained relationships. We think holding on protects us, but it pulls us under. The Buddha teaches non-self and equanimity. When you stop identifying with the rigid me and drop the fantasy of total control, you feel light like a climber without the load. Another image. Hold a fistful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Open your hand and the sand rests there. Love, success, even happiness are like that. Cling to them and they slip away. Release, and they can remain without enslaving you. Another story. An American mother fixates on her child getting into Harvard. If he doesn't, he'll fail. She controls every detail and drives him day and night. The result? He suffers under pressure, and their bond begins to crack. Eventually she sees she has lost something more precious than any college, their loving connection. When she releases the expectation, she can truly meet her child again. So how do we practice letting go? The Buddha didn't tell us to throw away our lives. He taught us to release in the mind. Try a simple release ritual. Write down one thing you are clinging to: an ambition, a relationship, a fear. Sit quietly, take a deep breath, and say aloud, "I allow myself to let this go." Tear up the paper, or place it in running water. As you watch it drift away, exhale. You'll feel lighter, because in that moment, the chain is broken. Letting go isn't apathy or irresponsibility. It means giving your best without chaining yourself to the outcome. Love deeply without possession. Work well without making your title your identity. Live fully without clinging to the idea of being forever. A teacher once said, "When you let go, you don't lose, you create space to receive." If your hand clutches a stone, it cannot hold a flower. Only by opening can you receive. Look honestly at your life. What are you holding too tightly? A fear? An unfulfilled dream? A relationship that no longer heals? Ask yourself, if this ended, could I accept it? It's a hard question and a doorway to freedom. When you release, you become light. And that lightness lets you live deeply. You stop chasing. You stop obsessing. You stop being crushed by the weight. You begin to taste a freedom that money, status, and power can't buy. Letting go isn't loss. It's a return to simplicity, a return to the living moment inside you. And when you learn this art, you're ready to face the greatest truth: death. Death is the final letting go of body, of story, of every attachment. If you're no longer afraid to release, you're no longer afraid to die. So how do we live with the awareness of death, without panic, and with more depth each day? That is the next step, living with the awareness of death. When you know you will die, you finally start to live. Most of the time we live as if we're immortal. We plan for next year, for 10 years. We postpone love in words. We hold on to grudges. We assume there's plenty of time. The truth is, none of us knows how many days remain. Death can come at any moment, anywhere. Because we forget this, we skim the surface of life and miss what matters most. The Buddha never avoided the subject of death. He taught contemplation of death, not to make us gloomy, but to wake us up, so every moment becomes a gift. Zen master began each morning by telling himself, "Today could be the last day of my life." Not to be afraid, but to live fully. If today were your last sunrise, the last conversation with someone you love, the last breath you take, would you waste it? Or would you be fully present and loving? Ask yourself, if today were your last day, what would you do differently? Would you hold someone a little longer? Forgive someone? Speak love instead of anger? When death becomes a teacher, your life changes at the root. A friend of mine once survived a serious car accident. In the moment he thought he would die, ambition and worry shrank to nothing. What remained was love for his family. After he lived, he changed. More time with his kids, more listening to his wife, less obsession with work. Only by facing death, he told me. Did I learn how to live? The Buddha called this practice anattā, mindfulness of death. It's not a dark obsession. It's a gentle reminder. Everything is fragile. Don't miss it. Try a simple exercise. Each day, sit quietly for 5 minutes. Imagine today is your last. You're in a hospital bed with only hours left. What would you regret? What do you wish you had said? How would you live if you could stand up again? Then open your eyes and live those answers today. Another image. Death is an alarm clock. It rings to wake us from the long dream we call a life of immortality. If we listen, we wake up and live for real. If we ignore it, we keep sleepwalking through trivial plans. There's a Tibetan tradition of placing a human skull on the altar, not to frighten anyone, but to remind us, one day, I will be like that. So I will live fully now. Living with awareness of death brings 2 gifts. First, deep appreciation. A simple meal becomes sacred. A small conversation becomes memorable. A touch becomes priceless. Second, wiser priorities. When time is limited, you won't waste it on grudges, comparisons, and empty rivalry. You choose love, forgiveness, and truth. Try one more practice. Each night before sleep, ask, if today had been my last, did I live fully? If the answer is not yet, smile and promise yourself, tomorrow, live deeper. When you live as if each day were your last, you stop fearing death, because you've lived wholeheartedly. When death comes, you can greet it like an old friend. The message is clear. Death is not the enemy. Death is the teacher. Let it remind you, and you will live a life not wasted. A life of love and awareness. When you're no longer afraid of death, you are finally free to live. That is the greatest gift of the Dharma. Now we close this journey with a gentle reminder. Death is not an ending, but a return. What truly dies is not you, not the deep essence of life within you. What dissolves is illusion, the illusion of a permanent I, the illusion that we can hold anything forever. When those illusions fall away, a wondrous truth appears. You were never separate from the vast flow of life. So death is not our foe, it is a quiet teacher, pointing to the priceless nature of each breath, each smile, each loving gaze. It teaches us to live truly, to love truly, and to let go for real. Imagine your final breath. Your eyes close. If you have lived fully, loved, forgiven, and planted good seeds, you can smile. There is no fear. You are not lost, you return. The Buddha said, when you see non-self, you go beyond fear of death. That is the greatest freedom. No more running. No more proving. No more obsession with forever. You can live lightly, deeply, and meaningfully right now. Here is today's message. In simple words, when you lose fear of death, you gain freedom to live. If these reflections speak to your heart, walk with us on Buddhism wisdom, spirituality. Here you'll find applied Buddhist teachings, meditative stories, and small practices with the power to change a life. Hit subscribe to keep exploring together. Each video is not just information. It is a quiet space where you can return to yourself. Before we end, take one gentle breath with me. Inhale and feel life filling you. Exhale and release all tension and fear. Smile and whisper, may I live deeply. May I die peacefully. The bell rings. And we close with a blessing. May you live deeply. May you die peacefully. This is Buddhism wisdom, spirituality.